Hey there. Well, I sound a little funny because I've got a head cold. It's really kind of kicking my ass. Low-grade fever that's taken care of with Tylenol, but it's still there, so. Anyway, I talk about activism a lot. I think in most cases it's just not very helpful. And we've seen how they can be deadly. Sure, there have been times that activism and just like protests have opened people's eyes to something. And that's really the best thing one can typically expect out of a protest of some sort. People opening their eyes to some sort of injustice. People matching patterns that they previously hadn't. I think the only time that protests could make a difference in, forcing the government to change something is if there were enough people in the protests, like, protests of millions of people in multiple cities. But that's unlikely to happen. Well, maybe it'll happen with the deportation stuff coming up with Trump, right? But people opening their eyes to an issue doesn't seem to be good enough for a lot of the new activists, especially since around 2015. And since 2020, people seem to have this idea that being more extreme will get their point across better, or that it will somehow have positive results. I especially don't understand how burning down small businesses or looting Target is supposed to have any positive result at all. And something that is common with a lot of activists now, and not just trans activists, but left-leaning activists in general, is to forego talking about legal rights. Since, at least in most states, people do have equal legal rights across the board. So these people have to expand what they mean by rights in order for their activism to continue. So these newer brands of activists want to force people to at least pretend to believe a particular way about particular demographics. And this just simply doesn't work. You will never get what you want using those tactics. You can't force people to change how they think about anything. You can certainly make people scared of saying how they really feel. You can make people pretend to believe certain ways. But that's terrible. We shouldn't encourage people to live in fear. And if you start heading towards terrorism in order to get people to listen, you will most certainly not get the normies coming to your side. All you can really do is prove yourself as a representative of the demographic you belong to. For people to see a positive example. That's what's going to change minds. Positive interactions make a big difference, and people on both sides have a chance of setting a good example. We all do. People should be free to hold hateful opinions. People should be allowed to say things that are something that ends in Easterphobic. There should be no limits to comedy except for, threats of violence or encouraging people to be violent or other things that are already illegal to say. Instead of trying to force people to pretend to believe as you do, like a theocracy would do, how about you just accept that people have differing opinions, that they don't have the same standards of what is virtuous as you do. Again, if you want people to view your demographic in a way that you find positive, the best way to do it is to set a good example. Just saying.